Bamsters Rated R podcast for all your bacon needs.
Well, hello, and welcome back. This is episode 137 of the Bamsters Rated R podcast. And first up, we're going to cover some newsy bits. G and I will be sitting here talking your head off. And then we'll come back for the upcoming games segment where you can find out all the fun stuff that'll be out next month. So, G, why don't you say hello?
Damn, that was boring, mate. It's Halloween. It's October 30th. Woo!
Oh, you want like an evil cackle or something? I can probably do that. Well, I know I can do it. I'm just worried about blasting out people's ears.
Yeah, no. Hi, everybody. Yes, it's me, G. But hey, you can comment this question. No, wait, that's backwards. Don't forget to lick your screen, hit subscribe, do something weird, so you get the future episodes as well.
And share it out, too. I always like to say, if you like what you hear, share with your friends, and if you don't like it, share it with somebody you don't like.
Yeah, I'm not going to share this one with about 7 billion people.
Why not?
We have some news, don't we? We have some stuff to get into, and upcoming games, and lots of things. Yay, we don't have an interview this week, though. So, hey, that's that.
Yeah, first up, folks have been taking a look at Google's streaming service for video games, and I know they're not the only ones who have been looking to dip their toes into this, so to speak. I know Microsoft has also announced a streaming service for games, and if you're curious exactly what I mean when I say streaming service, think Netflix for games. You don't actually download and install the game so much on your system, or maybe not so much more than a few files, but everything will stream through their service to your system, which theoretically, or actually, as they've been showing in practice, will allow some systems who might not have been capable of playing video games before to actually run and play the games.
Okay, so I have to stop you there because, yay, Microsoft announced something and people were going, it's going to be the killer app. Now we can stream straight to devices. And Google is doing it. Yay, it's going to be the killer app. Now we can stream to devices. Sony PlayStation Now has been doing it. They bought 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙤𝙬𝙀 who were doing it. GeForce Now is doing it. There's 2 or 3 other ones who are already doing this. So the fact that Google is doing it is completely irrelevant.
I think it's another company dipping their toes in, trying to get in on a market that's, I'm not going to say wasn't existing, but is more in its younger stages.
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of headaches in it, and looking at the different ones, GeForce Now, that's the one I've been using, runs really well. It's surprisingly well even. But it has the same headaches as all the other ones are going to have. Input lag, which is remarkably low. And also it eats a lot of bandwidth. 1 hour at 60 frames per second, 1080p, is about 9 gigabyte of data. So if you're on any kind of limited connection, these cloud gaming services don't work.
Yeah, I'd definitely say this is targeted more towards folks who have, much more open or non-limited bandwidth. But, a lot of places across the U.S., I think even though a big target for their customer base is going to be here in the U.S., you guys over in Europe oftentimes have faster internet speeds than we do here.
Oh yeah, but they still cost a fair amount of money. €100 a month connection here. You would saturate that if you play for a day because of limits. So the speed isn't everything. It's the fact that there are limits, and more have limits on their offering. Nobody nowadays really have unlimited traffic, even when they say it's unlimited. And yeah, you can do it on your cell phone. Good luck. Have fun eating up your cell phone data in no time. All of those problems are going to exist.
Yeah, I think the cell phone stuff is more targeted at like Wi-Fi hotspots for doing something like that, or at least that's my expectation. I wouldn't want to sit there and... I know just like cell phone companies, internet companies, a lot of times, that while they may not cut you off after a certain data limit, they start to restrict your bandwidth. And I'm beginning to think, at least more and more types of streaming things come along. For years now, we've had, Netflix and Hulu and Prime and all that. These things eat up more bandwidth, and as the video becomes more demanding bandwidth-wise, and now these streaming services for games, they're going to either have to drastically increase those limits, thereby, of course, increasing their infrastructure, or do away with them. Like in some cases, in some ways, some cell phone companies have really relaxed their policies when it came to, data and texting and phone calls and stuff like that, where it used to be you only got a certain number of texts or a certain number of minutes to speak. Now it is more or less truly unlimited with, how often you can talk.
Yeah, I don't know. We had offerings that were literally you get 10,000 text messages per month. Turn of the millennium already, so most of those limits are gone. But what do I have, a gigabyte of data on my phone? Yeah, no, streaming doesn't really work there yet. But it's interesting. You mentioned, for example, Netflix, and there's a few headaches. Like Netflix aren't sending their data across to the country. There's a Netflix server at my local ISP, and I'll guarantee there's one at yours as well. But imagine Google having to go out and put gaming servers at every single ISP. That's going to be costly for them. And the reason is those gaming servers, the hardware is going to cost more than what Netflix is paying. It's called a colo or co-location. And that's going to be really uphill if they want to go that far, if they want to do what Netflix is doing. Another one is, of course, you say it's the Netflix of gaming. No, it isn't. 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 is the Netflix of gaming. They send you the data, you run it on your computer, but it's all the gaming you can need. So if it's just to get access to all the games, go for 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬. If you want access, like, I can't play high-end games on my computer, well, GeForce Now lets me play at max settings at any game. So that there it works, but I'm not convinced this is going to take off.
GeForce Now, I haven't actually looked into or used that. Doesn't that run off of another system and then stream to yours? Or how exactly does that work?
Everything runs on GeForce's or NVIDIA servers. And they just chuck the biggest graphics cards they could make into some servers, and everything runs over that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, but with regards as far as cost goes, yeah, absolutely, there's going to be a big cost. I assume in a way that Google's already got a presence in a lot of these places, that it's just going to be a matter of them upgrading or adding additional hardware that may already be in place. In some cases, maybe not all. But if a company can do it, I'm thinking Google's probably got the money to do it between, all of the things that they're doing that make money with the phones that they now have that they're charging for, and all of the ad service and money they make from things like YouTube and whatnot. So
they have the money for it, definitely. And the reason why NVIDIA is interesting in this regard is because they have the hardware for it. And the reason why PlayStation is interesting is because they have the games for it. And Microsoft is interesting because people like Microsoft for some weird reason. That's sort of it. They have some of the games, they have some of the software expertise, etc. They're also interesting. But there's nobody who's a total threat. So I don't know. It's just, I like that they're doing it. I like my GeForce Now. But there are just too many limitations right now. You will need an across the band, not just at colos, not just at NVIDIA, Google, etc. Internet connections need to be improved. So no, for now, my go-to would be 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 for stuff like this. Yes, you downloaded it, but there's just all the games you can need. That's the way to do it. And you mentioned Europe. Google's thing is not available in Europe at all. It's US only. And that's a problem that you're going to see if they do these things, that they're going to be regionally restricted.
I did not know that a lot of that stuff was limited out. I just assumed, Google being as large as it was, that it was much more international.
It isn't. Google's service is limited to US only at this point. GeForce, I think, is global. PlayStation, in every region, the PlayStation has a economic thing, or a legal entity, basically. So there's some headaches. I don't think it's going to be as terrible as it is over on Netflix and TV, because I'm not joking when I say this. We don't have The Expanse Season 3 in Europe. Came out half a year ago in the US. You can't watch it in Europe.
So Prime picked up The Expanse and are, I guess, working on, or were supposed to be working on Season 3. Is that... I haven't been keeping up with it. Is it completed, or is it just...
Season 3 has been recorded and aired in the US, and the cancellation was during Season 3 airing. Then Prime picked it up after a campaign. And they're now working, literally right now, working on Season 4. But Season 3 is not available outside of the US or Canada. And Prime is not, over here Prime hasn't put it up either. And there's no DVDs, there's no nothing. So it's just a guaranteed way of getting people to BitTorrent it. Which then leads into that second segment about, with all the fragmentation and everything that's going on, BitTorrenting is actually making a comeback.
Did it ever go away?
It's dropped. Like a year ago, when it was lower than it is now, it had dropped probably about 1/3 compared to what it was in the past. At one point, more than half the traffic on the internet was BitTorrenting. Right now, it's something like 25%.
I can't say that surprises me, because I know one of the things that I've really wanted to see for a long time, and I've even said, is rather than, owning DVDs or having to watch stuff on live TV, the fact that you have a streaming service that will allow you, that you can pay for, that allows you to just go in and watch what you want whenever you want, I'm all on board for that. I've wanted that for so long, and I would much rather do that than have, shelves of, DVDs or cases of DVDs, or, have to sit down at a specific time for a TV show when, I got wife and kids and other stuff going on, and I may not always be available at that time, so you end up missing out on episodes.
See, I agree with you on that one. Except I do like to have, box sets and stuff on my shelves. It's just a thing.
See, I like to clear the box sets and make room for action figures.
Yeah, I'm not into dolls. Apologies. But I also like that you can get everything in one form or another online. I can turn on my PlayStation, I can go to Netflix and watch things, I can go to Prime Video and watch things. The problem becomes, if I need a Netflix subscription and a Prime Video subscription and an HBO subscription, there's no HBO here. And a Hulu subscription, there's no Hulu here. And what else do you have? Over there you have CBS Access, you have Disney's putting something out. If I need to pay $10, €10, £10, 10 bacon tokens every month to 10 different things to watch what I want to watch, that's a lot of money, but it's also a headache to figure out which one has them. Where is it I'm going to watch this show? And it becomes easier for me to just install, I'm not going to say the name, but install a piece of software on my computer, mark which TV series I watch. Whenever they are shown, somebody uploads them to the interwebs, my computer downloads them, I can watch them at will. It's not even the money anymore, it's a matter of what is convenient. And they're losing the battle on convenience.
I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we start to see some of these major services like Netflix and, say, Prime or Hulu, who might offer things like cable companies used to, where, you would get the basic cable package. Because cable was anywhere from, we'll say, like $60 to $120 and even more, depending on which channels or extra subscriptions you wanted. And you're right. This is something I brought up a long time ago when Disney was talking about doing their streaming service, and DC has added their streaming service. It's great that these companies are doing these things, but now you're going from where people were cutting the cord to save the expense of cable because they weren't watching all those channels anyway, to having streaming services fragmented into all these streaming services. And now you're paying the same kind of money that you would have been paying for cable for all these variety of streaming services so that you can watch just a few shows on these streaming services. And I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we see some of these have some backdoor handshakes where, like, if you subscribe to Netflix, but you pay an additional $5 a month or a couple dollars a month or whatever, you get access to a certain number of shows or whatever from a different streaming service that they've partnered with.
So you're basically right. We might see things like that. I doubt it, because they all really want to have your eyeballs on their show, on their ads. So I doubt that we will see many of those. And the whole CBS, Disney, DC, a lot of them are money grabs. Like Disney going out and say all Marvel Disney going out and saying all Marvel content. Marvel? I can't speak. Bleh. will be on Disney. Well, what about us that pays Netflix to have it there? Are things going away? What's going to happen? CBS is trying to bootstrap theirs by having all the almost Star Trek stuff on CBS All Access instead of on air. So they're forcing this fragmentation, and they're doing it because that's where they see the money being. They don't want to see... They literally do not want to see Netflix make money off of their content. They don't want to see Prime make money off of their content. They're hoping to avoid that. And as a result, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. And as it really is the case, we're seeing BitTorrenting traffic increase. It's just one of those things that comes up and being interesting to see. First the headache of, the Expanse is just a symptom. But how they are making a mess of that now people have to go out and pirate it if they want to watch it, because it just ain't available, said even on DVD or Blu-ray. And all those services going on and saying, oh, we don't want Netflix and friends to make money off of us, so we'll make our own online services, ignoring the fact that they are then going to shoot themselves in the foot because people will go and download things because it's easier.
Well, and I think that may be the case where we look at streaming services that maybe fail, or at least in the eyes of the companies that are doing them have failed because they're not making enough money, and maybe that's where those handshakes start, where they try to make themselves attractive to people on other services to still get some of that money that they were hoping to get.
Yeah, so I can't say where this is going to head, but it will have to come, to Logger's head at some point, because we are seeing it. CBS All Access, Hulu are not available. I think Hulu might be available in the UK and nowhere else. CBS All Access isn't. HBO is available in the UK and Scandinavia over here. So when they don't have market coverage, a lot of them hand over content to Netflix.
Well, I'd say, speaking of circumnavigating different types of protections and whatnot, I caught an article that the Library of Congress is going to basically make it easier to circumnavigate some of the copy protection, DRM stuff, on older video games. I don't know how much of that you had seen, but basically there's a law or specifically targeted towards digital media and stuff like that then allows the Library of Congress to make exceptions. And I think they can do this basically, it's like every 3 years they can add stuff to the list that allows for exceptions. And so, this is now going to allow folks to go back for things that are on that list, especially usually things that make it onto this list of exceptions are things that have like an online service. So if you had to be online to play the game because that's how it authenticated, but now the company's no longer supporting it and the servers are offline, it's not illegal to circumnavigate their copyright protection once that happens.
It's fun to sue with the DMCA, right? People really like to sue with that thing. Yeah, it's interesting that Library of Congress actually has the right to even do this, that they've gone in and said, oh, now you can do this, here's some exceptions. Here's some things where you can't be sued with this terrible law. And is it going to stick? Are they just going to revert it? Because I think these exceptions are, 1-2 years at a time, so feel free to use them now, then see them revert, and then get slapped over the wrist.
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the whole image in my mind of you doing a dance with the letters DMCA. DMCA. Yeah, I don't want to say how I'm doing the D. Oh, jeez.
So it's awesome, but it shouldn't be necessary. There's not a headache over here, because we're not subject to the Library of Congress or to the DMCA or US laws. Yay. So, but for you guys, if it really extends to letting private people do some of this stuff, awesome. Console repair should have been exempted from the beginning, as should, frankly, tractor repair. It isn't. And it's one of those, it's an attempt to fix yet another of Bill Clinton's terrible laws.
So politicians overreach, and then politicians come in and add exceptions to the overreach to work around it.
Well, I think these are not actually, the exemptions are not run by politicians. That's actually people who are being semi-intelligent. But yeah, the DMCA is one huge overreach, pretty much. Should not have been in the... Well, it should not have existed. Definitely not in the way it is. Guess where I learned about US system for making laws? The Simpsons. There's an episode where Lisa goes to Congress or something and sits down with that bill that's then a rip off an older cartoon.
I remember that from when I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah, and literally that's how I ended up learning about how the US makes laws. But, talking of Simpsons, they're dropping Apu. Wait, I'm not saying they're dropping a poo, they're dropping a character named Apu.
Oh, man. Yeah, might want to rephrase that one.
I am not going to try to pronounce his name because I'm going to get it wrong. Everybody knows him as Apu, the convenience store dude. Because, yeah, you've probably seen there's been some headaches for the last couple of years with that character. And they've actually, the producer, 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙤𝙬𝙤𝙬 went out and made a competition where you could submit a script that was meant to transition Apu from this terrible character to something that actually is okay. Something that can really, something that has a realistic portrayal. It's a new way of doing him, and they were talking about a new actor, voice actor for him. All the right ways of moving this character forward, but they reportedly decided to just unceremoniously drop him. Like, we're just not going to have the character anymore in the show. This is one of those... I understand why. They're just panicky that something will happen that will be wrong. Somebody will get upset, and everything they've tried just blows up in their face. So dropping it is sort of probably seen as the safest option. Say, where I grew up, we did not have that that stereotype. It just didn't exist. So for me, it wasn't a stereotype. It's just, okay, I guess that's a thing. But I can see why, with it being a quite bad stereotype, that it just doesn't work. It's terrible, frankly. And here's a way of trying to fix it, and they're doing the wrong thing again. Or they're doing the boring thing, the uninspired thing. But at least, apparently, this script will be made into something. Shankar has a website he calls Bootleg Universe. They might do it there instead, so something will happen at least. Well, since you don't watch Simpsons, I know you watch Marvel TV, right?
I do. Nearly caught up with all of the Netflix stuff except for DareDevil that just came out. I've only seen the first episode of that. Haven't had time to get through the rest of the season.
So I shouldn't tell you what happens in the last episode.
Probably not, but I get the feeling that you're going to tell me something anyway.
Okay, let's do this spoiler-free then, because we're good at that. If I say there will be a Dr. Oyama in this, well, actually in the last episode, I already said that part, but in Netflix, Marvel, DareDevil, shouldn't that make your little comic shop talk cast stand on end?
If TJ were here, he could probably tell you the entire history of that character and all kinds of other information. I, however, have such a horrid memory, and while I still pick up the occasional book from the comic store now and then, I haven't collected them in so many years yet. TJ's the one that'll be able to give you all the info on that. I'm kind of like the other part of that that doesn't know that much about comics.
Come on, okay, so let's throw some... I'll throw you a lifeline here. Lord Darkwind. Okay, that didn't help. Adamantium.
Well, okay. I think even people who don't read comics know about Adamantium. Hugh Jackman has made that infamous, just about.
Yeah, that jacked huge man has done something with that character, hasn't he?
Yeah, and damn it, Disney took too long to get integrated with Fox on that stuff, because it would have been awesome seeing, him play a part in an Avengers movie, in a Deadpool movie, in both. That would have been phenomenal.
So you didn't watch the latest Deadpool?
I'm talking as Wolverine, like the two of them going out and doing stuff. Yeah, that would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw Deadpool and Wolverine in Deadpool.
Yes, I know the scene you're talking about, but not in the. It's in a bit of a different context than what I'm talking about.
It's awesome. I love that scene.
Oh, I definitely loved the nod. That was pretty cool, but yeah, it's not. It's a nice little nod, but it's obviously not what fans would love to really see from the two of them in a movie together.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not just a nod. It's also an FU to the fact that they didn't. But I think also to bring it back to Daredevil, that's also a nod. It's so Dr. Oyama or Lord Darkwind is the character in the comics who invented the method for putting adamantium on skeletons and therefore is the grandfather of Wolverine, basically. And the fact that they bring him in there when they do not have the rights, it's fun, it's weird, it's a little bit, Disney's a little bit litigious. It's fucking brave of them. So it's just a fun little, a nod to the other things that they can't touch on, but would like to.
That makes it kind of interesting, because if they're introducing adamantium, it makes you wonder if Daredevil does get a season 4, which with them dropping Iron Fist and Luke Cage, kind of makes me wonder if they're even going to continue with many of these series, which I find really unfortunate because things were going so well. A lot of this stuff, Iron Fist was looking up. It ended on. To me, it was a little bit of a strange note, just because maybe there were... I don't want to give away the last few minutes of the last episode, but the way that they pivoted those characters slightly was definitely unexpected to me, and it was something I wanted to do a little research on, but I haven't looked up yet as far as how things changed. But I thought things were going in an interesting direction. I thought that Iron Fist was definitely looking up. Season 2 was definitely better than Season 1. And... I don't know, I was hoping we might get, I know TJ had mentioned it at one point, like Heroes for Hire, where we get more Luke Cage and Iron Fist together, working together, I definitely wanted to see, a series Daughters of the Dragon with Misty and Colleen, the two of them working together. Those would have been a cool series as well.
Okay, so now we're gonna spoilering next week's episode, aren't we? Because that's supposed to be you and TJ doing this stuff. But I'll just give my 2 cents. Heroes for Hire, no thank you. The insufferable Ironfish has tired me out. No, don't want any more of him. And the place where they left Luke Cage, there's no sane transition into Heroes for Hire. I like where they ended. It really looked like a Season 3 of Ironfish could actually be interesting, as opposed to the previous ones. And there's just no way in hell they're not doing a Daughters. That has to be there. They literally, Colleen Wing's first appearance in this whole universe was her referencing herself as Daughter of the Dragon. There has to be a Daughters of the Dragon TV series. It just has to be. So that has to happen. Heroes for Hire, I don't even want to. I don't think it'll be there. I don't think it'll be interesting. I don't see a way to get to it. So big old no thank you. And I think, to again bring it back to Daredevil, I don't think that's adamantium they're putting into anybody or using for anything. I think it is literally just a case of dropping the name, and that's it. They don't even have the right to adamantium because that belongs to X-Men.
I think you make some good points about the way that they ended both the seasons of Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I don't know that there's necessarily an easy or a quick way to transition to Heroes to Hire from the way that they ended those series. But I think probably when those were written, they weren't necessarily expecting the seasons to, or I should say the series, to be over after that. I think there probably would have been at least another season of each show, or at least another season of Luke Cage, before you could have transitioned to something like Heroes for Hire.
Yeah, as I said, I don't even want a Heroes for Hire. It's not a bad comic, it's a good comic even. It's just not where, with those characters, with those actors, with everything they've done, no thank you. Give me another Defenders instead.
Oh yeah, I'd be up for that.
Please drop another building on Daredevil.
It didn't take the first time.
Yeah. Wait until he finds a netted jar and forgets everything he would have ever learned about how to use a netted jar. Way to go. Anyways, people, we've been yabbering on and I'm getting looks from the audience. It is time to wrap up this new segment. But, coming up, upcoming games.
If you like painting your house square, you must listen to Bam in this episode.
All right, we are back from the break, and I have kicked G out and let Bam in. So Bam, why don't you say hi this time?
Yeah, I get to say hello.
Well, first up is one I threw in here. I just happened upon it kind of accidentally, or at least not intentionally. It just showed up and I went to check it out. But it actually looks really interesting. I don't know if you had a chance to check out the trailer for this or not, but it comes out on the 1st of November. It's called The Quiet Man, and it's from Human Head Studios and Square Enix. And it's basically a single player story driven game, and you play the game itself is a mix of recorded live action video and mixed in with CGI and gameplay, obviously. But you play as a deaf man who's basically trying to figure out why some songstress was kidnapped by some strange or mysterious masked man. And so the way that this takes place is you actually experience the world as he does with little or no sound. I think it points that there's some muffled sound throughout the game, but for the most part, it keeps it pretty quiet. That looked like an interesting way, definitely a different way to play through a game.
I must say, Drek, I didn't pick this one up on my radar. Unfortunately, I'm blinded by the spot lamps on several hype trains. It's like tunnel vision. A lot has been lost on my radar, and that is my fault. I won't lie there. It does sound like a good game. Square Enix is a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to games, but this one does sound very interesting. A very story-driven single-player game.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that caught my attention was not just the fact that you're playing as someone who's, really unable to hear, and the game puts you in that situation, which I thought was interesting, but also it looked kind of cool, the mix of the live action video and the gameplay. And in some ways, it almost reminded me a little bit of one of the old Gabriel Knight games where you're playing through and trying to solve a mystery.
Well, if the game plays well, and it's got a good story, well then it's a GG, and I'll be interested to see what happens with this game.
Yeah, unfortunately no price on that yet, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what it lists for on Steam on the 1st of November.
Happy day, boys and girls. 6th of November, Overkill's The Walking Dead from Overkill and Starbreeze Studios. Guys, as we all know, it's The Walking Dead. Zombies in Alabama. Zombies in Georgia. PC, PS4, Xbox One, guys. $59.99, and depends on which version you get. It can start at $60 and it could end at $120. Same in the UK. Starts at around £60, ends at around £120. Survival horror co-op. Yes. I like me with some Walking Dead.
Yeah, not to be confused with the Telltale Games, which is a separate studio and a separate type of game. This is played in a first-person perspective. I had some really high hopes for this game. I did play the beta last night with a buddy of mine, and unfortunately we've gone from pre-ordering the game to putting it on the back burner to see how the development unfolds over time. The melee combat in this game is unfortunately frustrating, to say the least. Personally, I don't feel like I can recommend it at launch, especially considering some of the changes that I think need to be made with the combat and the price tag. But I would say keep an eye on this one. Hopefully they are able to update it and make it a little more enjoyable to play. Definitely, if it's something that's on your radar and you're still considering, take a look at some live streams of gameplay and try to get, at least a few different opinions on reviews to see what people like and what people don't like about it before purchasing.
I haven't played this game, so I can't really offer the same sort of criticisms as you have, but from what I've seen, the gameplay looks bad. It doesn't seem to play well, just from the outside looking in, but having not played it, I can't offer a direct opinion about it. So I'll leave this one up there in the air for you, Drac, to catch it in your review papers in the next few days.
Alright, well, moving on, something you threw on here. I guess this is a bit of a remake, Spyro Reignited.
Yes, Spyro Reignited, guys. This is for all the kiddies out there. Believe it or not, I have purchased this one. Well, I've purchased Spyro games in the past for my nieces and nephews, and this little purple dragon, not the magic dragon, but purple dragon, is...
Not to be confused with a purple dinosaur?
Well, I know. Don't get me started on Barney. I remember that part of people's lives. It's a cute game, right? It's a remastered version. It's developed by Toys for Bob and obviously published by Activision Blizzard. It's a platforming game. If you guys don't know what it is, it's quite old. The game style's quite old. PS4, Xbox One, so definitely console orientated, not necessarily PC focused at all. This game is a lot of fun for the, I want to say, early pre-teens, you know what I mean? That sort of thing, that sort of genre. If you want a cute game with a lot of fun and a relatively rude, highly energetic dragon. So, cheeky boy.
Yeah, I remember a while back when these games, or at least when Spyro had first come out and it gained popularity, I remember seeing gameplay of it, but it's not something I'd ever picked up on my own, so that's not one I can talk to very intimately.
No, I agree there. I can go ask my niece, who's a lot older now, and she remembers the game fondly. I'm pretty sure people remember Crash Bandicoot fondly. I never played those games, and I know, younger versions of my family have, so I can go and ask them, but I don't really want to because it's an old game that's died horribly. So, yeah.
I think they just rebooted Crash Bandicoot not too long ago, or maybe they remastered that one too. I don't know.
Remastered it, yeah.
Yeah, some of these older games, it's cool. They're getting a second or a fresh life.
Well, what's the phrase? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just slap a new coat of paint over it and it's good for another couple of years. I think Bethesda learned that with Skyrim.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because speaking of slapping a new coat of paint over something, Hitman 2 from IO Interactive and Warner Brothers, I think I played one of the old Hitman games, and I haven't played any of the more recent stuff, but this looks to be like Hitman Reboot Part 2.
Believe it or not, I was thinking the same sort of thing. It is a bit of a remake of Hitman Part 2. And that's all we've got to say about it, really. Because that's how interested we both are in it.
It'll be out on, again, November 13th. This one comes out as well. PC, PS4, Xbox One. And there's a few different versions that range from $60 to $100.
Yeah, Xbox, PS4, PC. Not on the Switch. Just stick them off in there and twist it.
Just gotta throw that in there.
Not on Linux or Mac as well. All I can say is thank God those systems have been saved from the game. If you want a proper stealth sort of game, go get yourself Metal Gear Solid. I'm not a fan of this game at all. I won't lie. However, this game is incredibly popular with a lot of people, so we have to bring it to your guys' attention. Third-person shooter. Action stealth game, a lot of fun to play according to some people, and IO Interactive and Warner Brothers. I forgot Warner Brothers even published games. That's how much I know.
Well, they've got all the Arkham games with Batman and stuff, but you mentioned third-person stealth games that are fun to play. It's a bit of a side note. It's not something that's coming out in the near future. It's something that's been out for a while. Origami is something I just started playing last night. I've actually had it in my Steam inventory for a while. A lot of fun to play so far. I'm really enjoying that one. So if you like stealth games, definitely check that out on Steam.
As you can see, we've got much more interesting games to talk about than Hitman 2, so yeah, I think Drek and I are in agreement here. Not really keen on that. However, everyone is keen on Fallout 76. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, take me home.
I see that advert too, it's like, oh god, no.
When I was at E3, I went to the Bethesda booth, and they had that playing along with a few other things that they were advertising for Bethesda, but that was playing a lot. And just during the time I was there to play some of the VR demo stuff I was doing, I must have heard it half a dozen times. And I looked at the guy and I said, man, I feel really bad for you because I'm not going to be able to get that song out of my head now for a while. And he says, yeah, imagine working here all day long for several days.
That song gets drilled into your thick skull. Right, guys, as I said before, 14th of November, PC, PS4, Xbox One, not on the Switch, not on Mac. It's going to start at around $80. UK, I believe it's going to start at around £60. First-person, post-apocalyptic, survival co-op, PvP, battle royale. I was going to say Meccano mechanic building, but it's not really. It's more Minecrafty. It's got everything. The bit that bugs me about this, right, is that it's on a very old engine. That's the bit that bugs me. The engine is a Creation Engine, and it's been used to make games such as Skyrim, which is older than the dead leg of a donkey, Fallout 4, and now Fallout 76. I really thought they would have invested some time and effort into actually developing a new engine for this, because it's apparently such a great game-changing video game, but obviously not. So they're using the old engine that made Skyrim. So yeah, no matter how many times you want to poke and fettle an engine, the engine's still the same engine. You know, that's one of my bugbears when they come up to say a groundbreaking, game-breaking, whatever nonsense, and it's just same old stuff with a different skin.
And from what I saw, this will be $80, but just keep in mind, for those of you playing on PC and are used to ordering Bethesda games from Steam, this one is not coming to Steam. You will need the Bethesda launcher or marketplace, if you will, on your system to basically purchase, download, and install the game.
You see, this is also a part that bugs me, right? Why can't everyone just use Steam? You know, why can't they just put the games on the Steam platform as well? Yeah, they're still going to get royalties from Steam for selling the game, right? But then they could offer like a better discount on their system to get the game cheaper, blah blah blah. But instead, no, they can't have the the mental fortitude to think, you know, out the box. Yeah.
Well, you know, you mentioned that, and for the longest time I've kind of felt similar myself, just because I like having my collection of games all in one place. But more and more as time has gone on, a lot of these publishing companies have gone the route of having their own launcher. This isn't anything new, of course. You know, for years now, we've had Ubisoft's Uplay, and EA's got Origin, and on and on and on with other companies that have their own launchers. Discord is doing something that I think is really interesting. They're also having their own marketplace that they just started up, and they're also have got a way to reach out onto your system if you allow it to find the games that are installed on your system, and you can launch everything from Discord. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on Discord and see how well that seems to work, because it may become that Discord becomes kind of a new Steam in that regards for you know, you'll still have to have the launchers for each individual companies on your system, but instead of having to remember which one you need to go to and open that up, you'll be able to just go to Discord, open the game from Discord, and if it requires that launcher is open, it'll launch that as well.
Well, you see, that's very interesting. If Discord's going that route, I think Discord will become integral into PC gaming. I just wish they do something with the console market, but I think that requires a bit more time and effort. You mentioned that they got their different bits and pieces, like Origin. Origin, no word of a lie, runs like a bag of rotting phallic acids. It's horrible. Honestly, it's Steam. Just use Steam, EA. Just use Steam. Honestly, just use Steam. I mean, Steam has its own faults, but just use Steam. I'd much rather not have Origin running on my system like a phallic acid, and more than feel like a phallic acid, and then realizing, oh wait, hang on, Steam's just better in every way. Oh dear.
Well, I suppose each have their ups and downs, but if you want to play Anthem, you're gonna have to have Origin.
I like your innuendo. See, I'm trying to go around YouTube's algorithms by saying phallic acids. I like your up and down comment. That's brilliant. Love it.
See, even here on the podcast, we have TTP.
Yeah.
Speaking of EA.
Oh yes, this is just a nightmare, right, guys? Right, EA. As I was saying before, you know, Origin is a bag of phallic assets. Right now, EA themselves have shot themselves in the foot on multiple occasions of the past few years with regards to not so much as Battlefront, the one, but when it came out to Battlefront 2. You know, now Battlefield 5, and everyone's pointing fingers at me, social justice nonsense and whatever have you, right? Let's just forget all that for a second. Let's just talk about the game. November 20th. Battle Royale 5 from EA and DOS.
Yeah, I've been calling it Battlefield Royale 5.
PC, PS4, Xbox One. Lowest ballpark figure is $59.99. You're looking at around $80 if you want to buy extra bits and pieces, right? Battlefield 5 has a connotation attached to it. Get work, go broke. And I think EA's felt the pressure with regards to what they've actually gone ahead and done. A lot of people are pointing to historic realism, and EA are like, well, if you don't like the game, don't buy it. And people have responded with regards to not pre-ordering it, because, you know, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, and they're quite literally not just biting their hand, they're ripping their arm out the socket and beating you over the head with the soggy end. You know, it's quite interesting to see how they've doubled down on the sort of we're right, you're wrong, you will play our game regardless of what you say. And this is where the customer goes, yeah, but it's my money and I won't spend it. I'd much rather go buy Hitman 2, you know, because at this point, anything's better than Battle Royale 5. I'm sad to say it, I'm a big fan of Battlefield. The best game and they've made, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Bad Company 2. Now, my only opinion is I didn't buy I bought Battlefield 1, I didn't pay for the premium pass because I thought it was horrible. I couldn't RPG helos up the sky, I couldn't run and gun. It was very, how do you say, it was very rapid, almost Call of Duty-ish, became a Twitch sort of based shooter. There wasn't, I want to say there was no tactics, there were some tactics. You learned the map slowly. Variations on a theme here. It was just basically a reskin of an old engine, which grips me a bit because Battle Royale 5 is now supposed to be the best game ever, and they've just made it not the best game ever. It's frustrating. It really is.
Well, and something to note too that the release date on this has been pushed back. It was not originally November 20th. Before it was being released right around the same time as Call of Duty Black Ops 4. And I think also Red Dead Redemption, it was like right between those two releases or something like that. So they pushed it back a month, I think, in order to give themselves, you know, a chance to buffer themselves between that and those other two games that were immensely popular, and see if maybe the extra time gives folks a change of heart, or maybe folks who were going to be spending their bacon tokens on those other one or two games that month might spend them on this game.
This is where I see why they've done it, but I want to call yeah, I'm going to say something there. I want to call bovine fecal matter.
That's bull,
bovine
bam.
fecal matter. Damn! I want to call Walden bovine fecal matter on this one. Seriously, I do, because if they hadn't done such a debacle with Battlefront 2 and the whole loot box controversy, and they hadn't had done a completely disastrous E3 by sticking Trevor Bloody Noah on, coming from a fellow South African, Trevor Noah is funny, but when you try and be funny, you're not funny. Having to explain the joke makes you not funny, makes you look like a bit of an instrument. You know, I'm trying to dodge these YouTube algorithms, so guys, please bear with me here. Right, so it was a complete disaster. Utter disaster. People not knowing what they're doing, what they're saying. I mean, look at the just off tangent. Just look at the Need for Speed guy. That's all I know, man. Need for Speed guy. He stood there like a plum, fumbled his words, and looked like an absolute asset. Instrument. Seriously.
You're trying, man. I'll give you credit.
I'm trying, dude. I'm trying. I want to say all these pretty colourful words, but YouTube will just hammer me. So I'm trying to be behaving here. So. Disastrous E3. No one liked it. Everyone hammered it. They pointed fingers, and the devs pointed fingers back, and basically created another fecal matter storm that quite literally hit many fans. And now you have this, and to, you know, jump onto the latest bandwagon of Battle Royale because everything's got to have the Battle Royale. Yeah, okay, cool. Nice. I think the Battle Royale trend is dying down, I think, because there's so many versions of it. Most popular one being Fortnite, second being PUBG. I think those guys are dying down now. They're looking for the next big thing. I think they need to sort of make the next big thing.
I think COD might be beating out PUBG. We'll see if that lasts, but from everything I've heard, I haven't played it myself, but from everything I've heard, that Battle Royale is a lot of fun to play, and people are really enjoying it, and in some cases, I guess it's had higher play rates than PUBG, so...
Well, there we go.
It might be because it's new.
I want to say the reason why is because consoles. Hashtag because console. Bigger market of the consoles, therefore bigger play numbers on the game. I think they need... Is it specifically PC? Or is it specifically consoles? Or is it a mash of the two to beat up the numbers of PUBG? That's what I want to see. Anyway, we're talking about Battle Royale 5, honestly. So it is a bit of a cluster, a fluster cluck. There we go. Get that one, YouTube.
Hey, on that note, when are we going to have a podcast royale?
Oh, yeah.
Or a bacon royale.
A bacon royale. Oh man, yeah, definitely. So these guys are the games we've highlighted for November. Unfortunately, the hype trains on many of them, particularly when it comes to Fallout 76 and Battlefield, have kind of blinded me into not seeing many things, particularly when it came to the one that's being launched on the 1st of November. The game that I thought that was kind of cute came on the 13th of November, which is Spyro Reignited, which I think is quite cute. And if they get enough sales in there, who knows, you might have a Spyro 4.
There's still one more game that you wanted to mention.
Darksiders 3 from THQ and Vigil Games, guys, 27th of November. I'm actually quite excited about this one. Darksiders is a very interesting game. PC, PS4, Xbox, you know, the different versions as always, you know, when it comes to the AAA, as Jim Sterling says, a AAA, $59.99 all the way up to, what, $400? Are you joking?
Yeah, I was waiting to see the reaction to that price. So here's the thing. I will say this. That seems obnoxious when you think of a cost for just a video game. And I do still think that even including what's in there, it's crazy. But you get multiple little statues. So if you're a collector, I think there's 3 or 4 different statues you get with that. They're not like action figures. They're not posable or anything like that, at least not from what I saw. It's a whole package of things. So it's not just a video game with like an art book and a digital soundtrack or anything. There's also several different little statues or I don't know what else to call them, other little statues that you
figurines.
Get with that. To me, figurines are small, but that's because, you know, after so many years of playing D&D, that's what we call, you know, the little figurines. So this is much larger than like a little minifigure that you would put down on a D&D map.
So yes, third-person hack and slash adventurer, action, awesome, beautiful, lovely game. This is my kind of game. I like it. I'm probably going to be buying this game myself. I haven't heard any sort of controversies similar to Project Red. You know, they've had a bit of a hammering just recently. I haven't heard any sort of nonsense like they've been giving with Battlefield 5. These guys just seem to want to make a game and put it out there for everyone to play, from what I can see. So yeah, that's it.
I typically enjoy the stuff that THQ puts out. They put out a lot of cool games over the years, and I guess in this one you come up against the 7 deadly sins. Plus, I always thought that the character design for the characters that you play were pretty interesting.
Actually, that's not a bad point. They are very interesting. It's not like anything else you'd ever see. I want to say it kind of rivals God of War when it comes to character design. That sort of prettiness to it.
So cool. I guess that wraps up our upcoming games, and you got some newsy bits with G and I at the beginning, and that's going to be us signing out of here for this week. Hope you've enjoyed, and for myself here in warm Southern California still, Drac is out.
As before, guys, like, comment, subscribe, share this out to all the places that you know people will enjoy this sort of commentary. G sends his love, and TTFN, guys, toodle pip.